everybody. This is Coach Jeff Williams along with Coach Bray Cook in the Mouth, Brent Bender. Welcome to the Coaches in the Mouth. It's a new podcast we're starting. Kind of give you our platforms and turn it over to Coach Cook. Just had a great interview with Buck James. Let's talk to our audience a little bit of what our platform is and how this is going to work and what we're going to be talking about this fall and the rest of the years.
Yeah, years rolling with this thing. That was an awesome interview with Coach James. Great way to start this thing off. But really the plan is, for now, we're going to have our YouTube channel, Coaches in the Mouth. I believe the handle is Coaches in the Mouth Pod. And then we're also going to promote that on Twitter. It'll be on Instagram. I know y'all aren't on it, but it'll be on TikTok a little bit. So it'll pop up there as well. The audio version of everything we're going to do is going to be on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. But for that video portion, which I think is going to be the cooler part of what we're doing with all the guests we've got lined up, is going to be on YouTube. So that's going to be really our home base for this thing. And, of course, that'll be promoted on all the other little social medias. But looking forward to it, man. This morning was awesome.
Oh, it was just starting it off. And people want to know a little bit more about our platform. We're going to talk, high school athletics and have top 10 games of the week. And we're obviously going to talk about the Razorbacks, football, basketball, baseball, everything involved there. Also going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, one of my favorite subjects, and also the Kansas City Chiefs. And, whatever other sports hot topics are out there is what we're going to talk about. We got some great guests. Just had a great interview with Buck James, which is really, hot news coming out. Him leaving, 5-time state champion at Bryant, 6-time overall state champion, and headed to be the new head coach at Conway, and looking at it and all the trickle-down effects that's how that's affected over here really the last week. And I think it's a lot of fun. I think our viewers are going to really enjoy it. Make sure you hit subscribe to the channel and hit likes for us. And we're going to you're going to get interviews with people that you don't see every day. I know we're going to have Houston Nutt on for an exclusive interview, Eli Drinkwich. There's a lot of different guys, different high school coaches throughout the state that we're going to have on here. And we're going to have a lot of fun with it. And if you want to have a lot of fun with us, just tune in and enjoy. Our first topic here, and like I said, we'll drop this later on, is, the interview with Buck James is just amazing. Talking about the challenges that he's looking forward to at Conway and things that he's going to have to come in and do and to try to get them over the top. And, I mean, what shocking news, and I'm going to go the mouth here, is when you heard Buck James going to Conway on Tuesday, it's kind of leaked out a little bit on Monday. The mouth, what was your first takeaway? And then what's your takeaway after listening to Buck James on this interview?
I tell you what, I was driving to get lunch, and you called me and said, Buck's going to Conway. I said, whoa, I better pull over. Let me make sure I got this right. And the trickle-down effect is what I'm looking most forward to seeing. But I tell you what, great job by the Conway administration because they've already got a great program at Conway. Coach Fimple did a great job at Conway as the head coach for many years, and he is left to be the athletic director for Springdale Schools. And Conway did what a championship program does. They go and get a proven championship winning coach. He's won 5 state championships, 6. It's just incredible.
It is. And let's move it over to Coach Cook here. You're a young head coach. You got to ask some questions to Buck. I thought was interesting. That was great advice. Is what did you think about him leaving, obviously? And then, after listening to the interview is, what'd you get out of it?
You got to imagine that's a very tough decision for him to make, obviously with his history and the things that he's been able to accomplish. But then talking to him this morning, he's got a plan. He thought it through. He went through all those different factors that kind of impact that decision. And it sounded like for him, a lot of it was, about his family, and it was about all those things that people don't necessarily think about. It's about the ins and outs of the daily grind that comes with coaching. I appreciated he touched on that people don't ever talk about or congratulate you for, and that's the developing men off the field. And then he mentioned being good husbands and being good fathers. And at the end of the day, you're judged on the wins. But the most important piece of the job is that other part that a lot of people don't talk about.
Well, that's things behind the scenes that the coaches touch more lives than anybody else. I mean, just because, over the years, you take a guy like Buck James has been in it over 30 years, and you don't know the impact that you have in the game of football. That's what athletics in general does a lot for kids. Football is something, I think it's just one of those sports. It teaches life every day. I mean, it's a tough deal, but let's talk about, Buck brought up some challenges that he has going in so late at Conway. I think they have a great staff there already. Coach Fimple pretty much put a whole new staff together over his tenure there, and not going in. He talked about not going in, changing a lot of X's and O's, changing the mindset a little bit and getting everybody on the same page and that part of it. You've had to go in as a head coach. I had to go in as a head coach. Never that late. What's the challenges, Bray? What's challenges that you see Coach James has?
For me, it's about the relationships. It's exactly the first thing he said. It's if you come in there and, all right, this is how we're going to do things. This is what we got to change. This is how we're going to win. People, and his is a little different. He's got some history of success. But for a coach to come into a new program that has already kind of had success, and like he said, it's not a broken program at all. You got to build relationships, and you got to come in there and again, like he said, it's what it's all about. It's what life's all about, and the coaching profession translate that very, very well. If you come in there and don't build those things and don't do the things to create those bonds with your players and your staff, it's not going to work out. And so that's his number one priority, and I completely agree with him.
There's no doubt about that. Mouth, you listen to the interview, there are challenges out there, but Lord, we all got challenges. It don't matter, where you're at or what you're doing coaching wise, there's challenges every day. What'd you take out of the interview, and what challenges do you see that Coach James could have in his first year?
Well, there's one good challenge he won't have. Conway is already a good football team. Coach Fimple did a great job of building that program and putting a staff in place and putting his players in place to win. That's a great challenge not to have when you take a job. Buck James' biggest challenge will he be able to get his culture to the Conway Wampus Cats within his first month in July before practice starts in August. If he can do that, he's gonna be golden at Conway, and I don't expect anything but success from Buck James at Conway. Heck, he's won 53 games in a row at Bryant. It's been a long time since he went to bed sad on Friday nights. I'm just telling you, it's been a long time.
And that is true. Buck's team is going to get better and better, and they're going to be playing good at the end of the year when it counts in the playoffs. So I think watch this team more late than early. And I think they've got a shot. I mean, they were contenders. They're in the mix even way before Buck got there going into this year. All right, let's just change here a little bit. With all the new, Keith Fimple going to Springdale's athletic director, and dominoes started falling all last week with Buck going to Conway, and then Claude Sanders, who was the defense coordinator at Bryant, who took the head job at Jonesboro, coming back to Bryant. That Bryant didn't wait around at all. The next day they've got Claude Sanders back on their campus, and then Coach George was defense coordinator. Jonesboro didn't wait around at all and got their guys hired. The one question out there is Coach Randy Sandiford resigned also on Tuesday at North Little Rock, so that job's open. And so, like I said earlier, you look at Scott Reed, who's been at Cabot for 4 years, as the longest tenured guy in one spot there. And so that whole conference has changed up. What do you see with all the coaching changes? And that's got to affect some things. I don't care what anybody says. You know, players play, coaches coach, and all that part of it. But just your daily routine, because, you know, football players and coaches are, you know, creatures of habit. You know, the way they do things, the way they run practice, the kids will be fine. It's, you know, it's the coaching part I think is a big deal. Coach Cook, I mean, with all that shakeup in that conference being so dominant, and everybody looks at just Bryant, but it's been dominant in the playoffs. I mean, you know, Cabot, Conway, they've been, they've been playing on Thanksgiving for a lot of years, for the last couple of years, and North Little Rock, obviously, they're looking for a coach. You know, they're not. I guess they're one of the last people in Arkansas, maybe the last team in Arkansas, to beat Bryant, and they're looking for a new head coach. There's a lot of new dynamics there. What do you see with all the changes in that league? Do we see it slip? Do we see it get better? Do we just wait over time? What do we do? What do you see?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is the shift that took place kind of after. I got out of the 7A West, at Harbor. That 7A West was dominant for so long, to the point where we were wondering why we played the games in Little Rock, because we could just go down to Fayetteville, because it's always just, Bentonville, Fayetteville, or it was Harbor, Fayetteville, or Harbor, Bentonville. And then there was that shift to 7A Central. And, of course, there's still powerhouses up here, and there's some really good football up here in the 7A, obviously. But that 7A Central is pretty salty. Now, what will this wrinkle do? The talent's still there. I think at the end of the day, they're all great coaches. You've got all athletes who are just monsters. There's monsters all over that 7A Central. So it'll still be a very powerful conference. It's just going to be how does it shake out compared to the 7A West, I think.
And Mouth, you can elaborate on this. You don't think the guys up here in the 7A West and watching all that turnover, and going, hey, we might got a shot to get in here now. And with all the change, Mouth, with all the shakeup in the 7A Central, it's been dominant really the last probably 6 to 7 years. I've got my reasons on why that is, but that's not the topic here. What do you see with all the changes? Do you see it slipping? Do you see it improving? Do you see it staying the same?
Well, as we sit here today recording this podcast, the 7A Central, in my opinion, still goes through the Bryant Hornets. Even without Buck James as your head coach, with a new leader in Quad Sanders, who was Coach James' defensive coordinator at Bryant for years. Bryant was lucky enough to get him to come back from Jonesboro, a job that he took earlier in the spring. March, February maybe, but and the advantage Coach Sanders has is he knows those kids at Bryant. He knows what their work ethic is. He knows how they are in the weight room. He'll know the staff that's there at Bryant. It's not going to be coming in the office, hello, I'm Quad Sanders. They know Quad Sanders. The only difference it's going to be is he's sitting in the big chair now and not across from the head coach. He is the man. And that's one heck of a league just in coaches in that 7A Central.
Well, and I tell you another one that nobody's talking about, and I talked to him this year at the Red-White game at the University of Arkansas scrimmage, was Daryl Patton. He really felt like, he's taken over that program, and, it's been tough to deal with the last few years, but I know they're going back to the spread offense. He feels like he's got a lot of talent, and so that's another one. Hey, it's quiet over there, let's see what happens. But I mean,
I'm going to tell you, I know Coach Scott Reed well. He's like a family member to me, brother. When you're not talking about, when you're not hearing a lot about him, is when you better be concerned, because he's in the laboratory right now trying to put some stuff together. He's got a really good coaching staff at Cabot himself.
it's going to be real interesting to see, not just this summer, but how this league plays out. I mean, there's just so many storylines we're going to have so much fun with, and our viewers, and like I said, viewers want to chat in and ask questions or get on social media. You can follow us at the Coaches in the Mouth podcast on Instagram. We're on Twitter. You'll see it on our video here. Follow us. You got questions, direct messages, send us anything. We'll hit those topics. But let's move over to this, and we're going to have Casey Dick on here on a show real soon, have him live in studio. The 7A West has got to be sitting over here kind of smiling and, cutting their eyes and looking around with all the changes that's had. I mean, Fayetteville's got a top-notch quarterback. Bentonville, who just came off being in the state finals, feel like I've talked to some people, saw them at team camp yesterday, and they feel like they're really, really solid again. Of course, Bentonville West, Coach Pratt's done a great job up there. They've made a lot of runs. Rogers is kind of really climbing the ladder. Also, Heritage, broke their streak last year and won a conference game. Harbor's got a new coach. Brett Hobbs over at Springdale's putting in a total different offense, brought in Bryce Bray with the triple offense. So there's a lot of storylines also in the 7A West. Put yourself in one of their shoes, Coach Cook. Mm-hmm. What's your thought process right now if you're at Bentonville West, or Fayetteville, or Harbor, or one of those schools, and seeing all the change, mm-hmm. and how do you play out in this?
Well, Coach, I mean, just talking about how good the 7A Central is, and then now what you just talked about the coaches and what they have going on up here. I mean, it's good freaking football. I mean, you're going to tell me Bentonville doesn't have a chance to go win a state championship? Absolutely, they do. And so does Fayetteville. And Casey Dick's got a shot to do whatever they want down there at the Purple Dogs. That's one of those things that you look at what Coach Harbison's done at Rogers.
Unbelievable job.
Awesome. I mean, it is awesome. We had a team camp there yesterday, and Coach Bray with their O-line, monsters. They got some D-line, some talent over there that are just throwing kids around. And more than that, they're playing with great technique. They're smart. They're coached very well. And so that's a testament to the coaching up here in the 7A West.
There's great coaching, and people got great staffs. And that's the part people, we're sitting there hitting head coaches. It's about your staff. 100%. I mean, that's and I know we just got off interview with Buck James. Probably should have asked him this question. He mentioned he's got 8 guys out there right now that are head coaches. Mm-hmm. Number one, he's giving back. Number two is he's bringing guys in that people want. Mm-hmm. And your staff's the key. And there's great staffs in the 7A West and in the Central. Mouth, just looking, you're a fan there, and you go around and watch a lot of high school football. If you're sitting here in the 7A West with all the movements happening in the Central, what's your thought process, and where do you think they end up and where they land?
My thought process is if I'm in the 7A West, I'm glad you're talking about the 7A Central. I'm glad y'all are giving them all the hype and all the praise, because that's all right. We're sitting up here in the northwest corner of the state. We may feel disrespected. We may not, but when we put on our helmets and buckle our chin straps, put on the shoulder pads, we're coming right at you. And let's just say, I know that Cabot opens up with Fayetteville in Fayetteville the first game of the year. That'll that'll be an exciting game.
That'll be a top 10 game of the week.
Oh, yeah,
I can tell you that right now.
That might be our first game we go to. That's our first game the first week. I can promise you. And Fayetteville has got a really good quarterback in Lindsey. He's outstanding. Committed to the University of Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken, and Drake Lindsey. And he has. Last year they were young, but they got better and better as the year went along. He's got really good wide receivers. I don't think he has an Isaiah Satanga that can run out of sight in 0.1 seconds, but they can move. And Casey Dick's a proven winner. He's been to the state championship game. And it's going to be, let's just say, the playoffs. Let's get through the first 10 weeks of this regular season, and then the playoffs between the teams in 7A. That's going to be must-watch football.
Well, and there's some matchups there. You know, Conway and Bentonville are going to play in non-conference. You talked about Cabot and Fayetteville, so a lot of these matchups we're going to see early, and it's going to be interesting to see them late. And I'm excited about it. I mean, nobody's never better than anything in high school football, and Bray touched on this. I think some of the best football in the country is played in the 7A West and 7A Central. I mean, as not talking about the other classifications, but as far as big classifications, Bryant's gone on the road and played Longview. Conway, people have gone out of state and played and been very successful in those leagues. But it's going to be interesting. It's interesting to get Coach Casey Dick on here, in the next few episodes, and to get him on here and get his take on all the movement. And, it's going to be very interesting. We talked about in the 7A Central. I mean, with that movement, and change. But like you hit, there's still players there. And at the end of the day of it is, players make it go. But it's going to be very exciting, very, very exciting. What's your take on this part of it? They've made a run. Bryant's sitting there 53 games in a row. Quad Sanders taking over there. What's his mindset? We're going to have Quad on also, just kind of before we do the exclusive interview with him. If what's your mindset rolling in there?
I mean, obviously there's an expectation that has been set.
There's no doubt about that.
Your goals and kind of where that bar is very evident to everybody. But I think if I'm him, I go in there and I know how that program is run. I know the ins and outs of it. So I'm going to keep that thing rolling as is. I'm not going to put a wrench into things, and I'm going to take what's already been set. And again, that standard and all those expectations, and I'm going to go with it, and I'm built on top of it. And I don't go in there and kind of throw in a whole wrinkle on something that's not broken.
Well, and the other part people don't know is, Quad left and went to Jonesboro, who was Coach James's defense coordinator, and also Kirk Bach, who was the offense coordinator. He's gone into a different role as athletic director now at Bryant. And so I know Buck ended up promoting some guys within as coordinators, but you know what? That's a change, and that's a different look, Mouth. I mean, you start different coordinators have been successful, they affect the game, and that's going to be interesting to play out. What's your thoughts?
Well, the first thought I have is one good thing Quad Sanders is coming into it, Bryant. I know he's got a new athletic director in Coach Bach, but they know each other, and they probably know each other better than they know their kids, because Coach Bach's going to know exactly what Coach Sanders needs and wants and expects from his football program, and Coach Bach's going to be the type of athletic director that will make sure Coach Sanders and all the athletic programs at Bryant are able to get the resources that they need. So if you're Coach Sanders, you're saying, "Let's go, baby! It's go." Stepping into a pro. When you take over a job like Bryant, you got to embrace the 53 game schedule, winning streak. You can't be scared of it. If you're scared of it, you're gonna lose really quick. And then, but you going in there too, you can't be scared. But at some point the 53 game streaks
they all end.
Snapped.
I mean, they all end.
And then when that happens, you just say, "Heck, let's go win 53 more." And that's his mindset. He's taken over a great program. Jonesboro, he's leaving a great program that had great traditions in Jonesboro. So all I can tell him, it lets everybody in the whole state of Arkansas needs to embrace high school football this year in the state of Arkansas. What a way to spend a Friday night. Spend $8 getting in a game and buy you a popcorn and a Coke for $3 and enjoy the ride. Whether you're a Bryant person, whether you're a Cabot person, whether you're north side, south side, McGee, anywhere, Searcy, Harding Academy, enjoy it. You will not find better entertainment on a Friday night.
And that's the truth. I mean, it's best $5 you'll spend anywhere. I mean, it's great entertainment, but it's great to support these young people and see what they're going to do. But it's also interesting to see the outlines also. That's my take really for today. I mean, you're looking at what big news this past week. We're going to try to get Quad on here. Obviously, and we didn't hit on this one. North Little Rock sitting, and we've talked about it a little bit. It's sitting wide open right now. That job's open. They don't have an athletic director and that direction. So that's going to be very interesting because they've been in the top three in that league the last few years, at least in the top four, and that whole dynamics. But, boy, I tell you what, over the next few weeks, just seeing how things play out, do some assistants leave, do you got to hire a guy here or there, those things are coming down right now and it's getting late. It's going to be real interesting.
Big summer. Big summer for Arkansas football.
Yep. And like I said, follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Obviously, hit the subscribe button and like. And we want to continue to bring you inside information. If you get a chance to watch our interview with Buck James, make sure you tune in. It's a classic. Buck didn't pull any punches, and like Buck, it was a great interview, and enjoy it and tune back in. And we look forward to seeing you next time. We're signing off. Jeff Williams, Bray Cook, The Mouth, signing off. See you later.